Hell yeah, brother. Fucking Benjamin in the building. Alright, motherfuckers. Let's do it. What the fuck is up, my little cats and kittens, and welcome to another episode of the OVER Sharra Podcast. I am your host, Sharra Coley, and I'm going to be doing what I do best, which is oversharing about whatever the fuck I want to, because it's my podcast. And here on the OVER Sharra Podcast, we believe that oversharing is caring. So let's fucking get into it. All right, y'all, I'm not going to lie. I have been fired up, on fire, the last few days over the current state of everything going on in the world. And this whole food issue really strikes a certain string, a certain nerve with me. And I'm going to share with you why. I'm going to overshare with you why. I have such a sensitive spot in my heart for people losing their SNAP benefits, the potential of losing housing, like just all of the people who are about to be massively impacted. Also, we're about to be massively impacted because $9 billion is about to not be funneled into grocery stores from people who use this to purchase groceries. So FYI, if things aren't expensive enough for you now, well, buckle up, buddy, because it's only going to get worse. So fuck my life, dude. I was home last weekend actually visiting my family, and I went to have coffee and bagels with a girlfriend of mine, literally the only girlfriend that I kept in touch with from high school. We were catching up, and she and I were just kind of talking about how it's so hard to pay attention, and like how much we've both had to like pull away from paying attention to what goes on in the world. And I know that sounds terrible and so ignorant, but you know what? The saying is true. Ignorance is bliss. And sometimes I just want to live in a fucking bubble, dude, because the reason why is because I get so upset. Like I literally, as you know, I don't want to be one of those person like I'm super empathetic, so I feel everything so deeply. But like really though, I just overthink. Like my brain never stops going. Like I'm always having conversations, fucking processing shit. Like it is just a nonstop fucking circus show in there. Okay, so when I'm upset about something or like there's something going on, it's just like I think about it a lot, right? And then the other part of it is that it's hard sometimes not to pay attention to how absolutely fucking horrible people are because of social media, you know? And it's like, oh, well, just stay off of social media. Yes, agreed. And I used to do that, but I'm trying to create a space for myself online, you know? Like I'm trying to build my social media presence. So staying off of social media is not exactly that easy. And to stay relevant, you have to stay up to date with at least some of the shit and like, you know, take a stand for what you believe in. And this is one of the things where I'm like, you know what? I typically don't get I'm not political. I'm going to go ahead and just like make that statement. I am apolitical. I typically don't ever come on and talk about these types of things that sometimes people would say are political, because quite frankly, I just have never really wanted to argue with strangers, but this is just something that I quite frankly cannot keep my mouth shut about. So I'm going to overshare with you about some of my life experiences growing up as an adult that relate to money and hopefully break it down so that people can see that like this is a fucking human issue. This is not a political issue. I am so done with it being like, oh, well, it's Trump, it's this, it's, you know, the left, it's fuck your political parties. Okay. Like I'm just going to go ahead and before we get into this conversation, like explain my political stance, which is like, I don't side with either side. I think both sides are pure evil. I think both sides are shit. Neither side aligns with my moral compass. Therefore, like I am not the person who agrees with siding with a lesser evil. Like that's still evil. Like, I mean, for anybody who's religious, like think about it in that state. Like, would God be like, well, that's the devil, and that's a devil, but that's less of a devil than that devil. You should go with that devil. No, he'd be like, how about you stand firm in what you believe and move forward in the path of righteousness? That sounded like I've actually ever read the Bible. I haven't. Anyway, God wouldn't tell you to choose less evil. He would tell you to stick with what you feel is right. And I don't think either party is right. I think they're both corrupt pieces of shit who do not have the people's best interest in mind. And that's what I care about. I care about people. I care about humans. I care about the human experience. And so that is why I'm not political, because I don't think anybody in the current political atmosphere is actually a person of the people, at least not any of the politicians who make a grandiose amount of money. If you are profiting off of your political gain, there is just zero way you can actually be a for the people politician. And that is what I believe. So anyhow, let's just get the fuck into it. Okay, so we're going to start off talking about obviously what's going on in the world climate. We're not even going to call it the political climate. The world climate in the United States right now, which is 40 plus million people are about to lose their access to their food stamps and SNAP benefits. And if you are celebrating that, I'm just going to flat out say it. You're an absolute piece of shit. And you're the kind of piece of shit that I'm talking about. I've seen all kinds of just ridiculous things being said online of like, well, they should just get a job, no more free handouts. By the way, these are programs for us, like for you, for me, paid for by us. Anyway, get a job, no free handouts, lazy, oh God, if there's a will, there's a way. Don't have kids that you can't afford. Mind you, in 12 states, it's completely illegal to have an abortion. So there's that. And women have less reproductive rights than ever since Roe v. Wade. But yeah, okay, we can table that. So yeah, just all of these absolutely insensitive, absurd things going around online about the problem that is about to happen, which is there's going to be 40 plus million people without the ability to feed their families, to eat. And I don't know about you, but for me, I think that food is a human right. I don't give a shit what you are spending your SNAP on. If you want to buy yourself some Cheez-Its instead of a bag of grapes, honestly, it's cheaper, so fucking go for it. Like, as long as you're being fed, why the fuck do we care what people are spending it? So what got me the most fired up about this is I saw this stupid fucking piece of shit woman post a video about how she believes that anybody who relies on food stamps or SNAP benefits should basically be given like a rationed box of food. Like they should just get a box that has meat, vegetables, fruits, bread, and rice. That's it. That's all they're allowed to have. Nothing else. Which here, I get it. I get the argument of like, well, you know, don't splurge on luxuries, blah, blah, blah. Like, again, you are really, first of all, assuming that this person has the ability to make meals with this pre-selected food at home. Because again, this is going back to like somebody made some dumb comment about like, well, if they have a house, they probably have a pan. Okay, so if they have a house, does that also mean that their gas is turned on? Do they have all of the things necessary to cook? Because someone also made the argument of like, well, ingredients are cheaper than these foods and than these convenience foods. And it's like, okay, I don't disagree with that in some cases, but that's a wild assumption to believe. Okay, so like, let's just go down the list of things that we're assuming by making those statements. We're assuming that one, this person has a car, access. First and foremost, access to get to the store. Okay, we're assuming that this person, if they're only allowed to buy ingredients, and also like I'm going to get to why this argument is also stupid, because people are arguing that, well, they should be allowed to buy ingredients to make meals, but not things like chips and cookies and cupcakes and things like that, fried chicken. And I'm like, so they could make fried chicken at home, but they can't buy fried chicken in the freezer section. Got it. Anyway, so if we're saying that they should get this rationed food where they have to cook it and make meals, or that they can buy ingredients to make these healthy meals, we've now just assumed that this person, one, has access to get to and from the store. Two, we've assumed that this person is completely able-bodied, okay? They have zero issues with muscular anything, strength, standing for long periods of time. So we've assumed now their physical ability. We've also now assumed their mental ability, because I don't know if you've ever been around a child who has autism, like heavy autism. They're pretty particular. And I don't know if you've ever been around a toddler at all. They're pretty particular. Anyway, so mentally, so like, let's just say that like we've now assumed they have a way to get to and from the store, that they are a fully able-bodied person and a completely mentally able-bodied person. Okay. So those things first. Now we've also assumed that they have a kitchen with enough supplies to cook. They have pots and pans. They might have a strainer, some spatulas, silverware. Like they have all of these things that necessary just to cook. All right. We've also now assumed that they have access to a working cooking element, whether that be a cooktop stove, an oven, a grill, something. We've now assumed that they have access to that. We've now also assumed that they have had the gas turned on to service that if it's gas powered, or that their electricity is on. We've also now assumed that if they have the access to that it works. Because like, what if your stove goes out and you're poor and you don't have the money to fix it? You're not able to go fix it, right? You just have to do without. We've also now assumed that they have a fully functioning working refrigerator and a freezer. Like we've just assumed so many things about this, okay? We've also just assumed that they have all of the cooking oils, spices, everything like that necessary to cook this meal, that they know how to cook. There's that. Also, that they're old enough to cook, because a lot of times, what is it? I don't want to get this percentage wrong, but it's in the 40%. I want to say it's like 49% of the people receiving SNAP benefits are children. So like for me, and I'm going to get into why I'm so passionate about this here in a second, but for me, I was the one feeding myself most of growing up. It wasn't my mom. I can count on like one hand growing up how many times we ate dinner as a family outside of a holiday. Like the only time we sit down as a family and eat at the dinner table, even still really, is like when I go home to visit and we go out to eat, or for like Thanksgiving and Christmas. And when we were growing up, it was even less than that. Like we literally only sat down as a family to eat, maybe when I was like a baby and I don't fucking remember. But all of my life, I ate on the go. We ate fast food. I ate snacks. I was constantly going to and from, because again, I was poor, but I was also talented. I was a dancer. So I had a dance studio who gave me a full scholarship so that I could pursue my talent. But that was an hour and a half away. So like I'm eating in the car. Anyway, you're assuming that this person is an adult, when like in all reality, it's likely a child feeding themselves. So you think that they're going to go like what, fucking grill up a steak for them and their brother and sister while mom's on the night shift? No, you're a fucking idiot. Like you've just assumed that this person has all of the things that you have access to. And that's what they say. That's why there's the saying. That's why, you know what they say about people who assume, makes an ass out of you, not out of me for this instance. Anyway, why I am so passionate about this specific topic, though, is because I grew up as a poor kid. We went from having money to having no money. When I was a baby and we were moving around, my dad had a good corporate job. We were doing well. Had this nice had nice houses, had nice things. And then when I was in elementary school, my parents bought a business, a hair business. It was doing really well until it wasn't. They bought a new house. They invested in a lot of things that then when money wasn't working out, they didn't have the money to pay for it, and we lost it all. We ended up, our house, we lost the business. The house ended up getting foreclosed on. Like, my parents got a divorce. My mom became a single mother and without child support. And from that moment, it became just struggle. It became nothing but struggle. And so when I was in elementary school, we went, again, from having money to having everything literally taken away, like cars being repossessed, house being foreclosed on. And had it not been for my parents having access to some of the things that they had access to, like being able to pull out of their 401k, selling some of their stocks, they had property that they could sell. Like if they hadn't have had some of this stuff to fall back on to help them in that specific instance, like we would have been homeless, And so it's like people often forget that not everybody has a backup plan. So that's kind of what started happening, or that is what started happening for my mom. Like my mom and dad split and she exhausted all of her resources trying to make things work. She was busting her ass, working full time, and just still couldn't make ends meet as a single mom raising 3 children with all of the debts and things that had, happened for them. And, so she started pulling out of her 401k, selling stocks, taking out loans, credit cards, like all of this kind of stuff. Again, not necessarily in the best interest for her finances, but really just trying to pull strings just so she could keep the fucking lights on, a roof over our heads, and some food on the table. And then the well ran dry and she could no longer do it all and started missing payments on things. Like I just remember growing up with like constantly my mom floating checks, like, doing the math of like, if she gets this much gas today, and the check hits tomorrow, like if she's going to overdraft, like just crazy. And so it got to the point where she couldn't make it work. And she was struggling to put food on the table for us. And I remember the day that she drove to the office to go in and apply for food stamps, and the government denied her. They said that she made too much money. And it's like, so here's a mom who's busting her ass, working full time, trying to make ends meet for 3 kids. And the government tells her, well, you make too much money, we're not going to help you. And it's like, yeah, I could be pissed about that. But at the same time, like that should just go to show you that like a mom who doesn't have enough money to make it work, in the government's eyes, she has too much money. So like sometimes these people are put in positions where they have no other choice but then to say, okay, well, then maybe I need to make less money so then I can qualify for these benefits so that I can at least provide food and shelter and things for my kids that I'm not able to do on my own. So do you see how that could put somebody in a position to be like, okay, well, let me change? Like, so people who are having the argument of like, well, they should just get a job. Okay, most of these people do. Almost all of these people do. A lot of these people are working full time, and the ones that aren't are kind of being forced to not, because if they make too much money, then they can't qualify, and if they can't qualify, then they don't have the means to provide food because they have to pay for other things like daycare and shelter and bills. And it's just in today, and grant you, this was back in the 90s, this was back 25 years ago before shit was so expensive. So I can't even imagine how it must feel to be a single mom in today's economy. And, so when I was in the 6th grade, my guidance counselor bought us groceries because my mom couldn't afford it. She went to the office to apply for food stamps. They denied her. Like just seeing my mom and knowing what it took for my mom to essentially like tuck her tail, swallow her pride, and walk into that office to go ask for help and then being denied. Like she was just fucking crushed. Like it was a really hard day. It was a really hard thing to witness. And, thank God for my guidance counselor and for people, for humanity, for, contributing and putting food on the table for us and buying us groceries. And, it wasn't too much long after that experience that, my mom just couldn't keep making it work. So we ended up having to move in with my dad, who again, like my parents were divorced. It was a very, very tense household. I didn't really have a relationship with my dad. My mom and dad didn't talk. They were not on good terms. The only reason we were going to live with them is because we had no other option. Like he was our only option. And like, again, that just goes to show you, like, if we didn't have that, we would have been fucking homeless, or maybe driving up to North Carolina to go crash at her sister's house or something. Like, it's just like, and again, like, what if people don't have family or don't have those people to rely on? Because like we moved in with my dad when I was in 6th grade, and there was only one friend that I had in middle school who ever came over to the house that I lived in middle school, because I was so ashamed. I didn't want people to know how poor we were, and that, I shared not only a room with my mom and my sister, I shared a bed with my mom and my sister from 6th grade to 8th grade. And I was so embarrassed, especially those times. And I can't even imagine what that would be like now, going in middle school and having a situation like that. But back then, I was so ashamed and just trying to hide the fact. Like, I just remember like other kids, Abercrombie kids had just come out and other kids being able to afford it. And it was like, I just wanted a sweater so bad. And like being able to afford one sweater was like a Christmas. So that's where I'm just like, I don't understand, and it makes me so mad at the people who say things like, well, if they can't afford to put food on the table, then they shouldn't be allowed to get, snacks and luxuries with their SNAP benefits. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, if anything, I think these people who are working their fucking asses off and that they need a fucking break. And again, going back to what I just shared of like, you're just assuming that this mom has time and access and the ability to cook and all this kind of stuff. And that it's not just her kids feeding themselves while she's at her third job for the day. So yeah. Or like, the people online are like, well, it's kind of funny because they, depend on SNAP, but I sure see their nails done. First of all, another wild assumption is that they went to get their nails done. Do you know how many like new press-ons and shit you can just literally buy off of like Temu and Amazon for like $1 to $3 and glue that shit on yourself and it looks like you got it done at the salon for the next week? Like, that's a wild assumption. Also, like, as a kid, as growing up with money troubles and with this and like even having these struggles, if there was anybody I wanted to be able to go get their nails done and their hair done or to do that for themselves every once in a while, it was my mom. I would want my mom to be like, Mom, if you have extra money, go get your fucking hair done. Go get your fucking nails done. So like, go fuck yourself if you believe that just because these people are depending on some government aid to feed their family that they don't deserve to feel like a human being. Like, that's fucking bullshit. And so another thing that I want to break down for you is why it makes sense sometimes for a single mom or a family for them to work less so that they can depend on the government versus making quote unquote too much money and having to pay for daycare just so they can go to work. Okay, so I did some research. So the current average cost of daycare for one child in the United States ranges between $6,552 to $15,600 or more per year for one child. So let's just say that a single mom of one kid has a full-time job. She's able to land a job paying above minimum wage, which, by the way, it's $7.75 in a lot of places in the United States, which is less than what my one latte costs, which is fucking crazy talk. So let's say that this mom was able to land an above minimum wage paying job at $15 per hour, because that's a pretty standard pay rate in a lot of areas in the United States currently. So $15 per hour. She was able to get a 40-hour per week, 15-hour job. All right. So at that rate, she makes roughly about $31,200 before taxes are taken out. Okay, so we'll be generous. We'll be generous in here and say that she's bringing home anywhere between $25,000 to $26,000 of that $31,200 she makes per year. Let's be generous and say she gets to bring home $25,000 to $26,000. Let's be generous and say that in where she lives, the total cost per year for her one child. Okay, let's assume she only has one. One child is $10,000. All right. So if this mom brings $25,000 to $26,000 home per year and then has to spend $10,000 just for her child to be watched so she can go to work, she now only brings home between $15,000 to $16,000 per year. And this is being generous before she has to pay for other things like lodging, housing. Maybe she has a car, so a car payment, maybe. So if she has a car, then she also has car insurance. Maybe has health insurance, maybe, which is wildly expensive if you can't get it through your employer. The electricity bill, the gas bill, if there's one, internet, maybe, phone bill, maybe, like just all of the other bills. Renter's insurance or, homeowner's insurance, like just all of these other things that are wildly expensive. And then the cost of food. Tell me if you could survive on that and raise a kid. No. So that's why sometimes it actually makes more sense for the mom to not work as much so that she can watch her kid versus paying for her kid, or for a family to say, okay, only one of us is going to work because it's more fiscally responsible for you to stay home as a stay-at-home mom and be the daycare for our children until they can go to till they're school aged. Okay, so like it's now fiscally more responsible for you to stay home to be the daycare until your kids can be of school aged going children. Okay. And again, that's also assuming that your child doesn't have any sort of disability. Let's not even get into it if your child has a disability and now you have medical bills and prescriptions and all of that on top of it. Like, so here is somebody who's absolutely working their ass off. And do you see how like your argument is like, just get a job? Well, there's a will, there's a way. You can't will yourself out of poverty. You can't will yourself into a better job market. You can't will yourself to have family who can support you as a backup plan. Like sometimes the cards are just working not in your favor. Sometimes things are working against you and it's so hard. And I've seen how like you can feel like you take one step forward to only feel like then something happens, your fucking car breaks, the dishwasher breaks, something happens, your washing machine breaks and you're back, you know, and like 5 steps back. Like you just don't know. A storm comes through. Like go fuck yourself, man. You know, everybody wants to act like it's just so easy. Like if you just have enough determination, you can like make something work. And that's just simply not the way it works for everyone. Like I'm going to share this. It's an embarrassing thing for me to share, but I think it's important to share because not a lot of people share this kind of stuff. And, you know, I used to be really ashamed to admit this, but now I'm not. I'm proud to, you know, admit it. I'm not proud, but I'm proud of what I've learned from it and where I have grown from it. But it just goes to show you that, like, if you don't have family and access for somebody to help you, like, you can really get yourself into a lot of trouble. So when I was 24, I filed for bankruptcy. I had gotten myself into a lot of credit card debt. Because again, you know, my dad had done a really great thing for me whenever I was in college. And when I was in college, he had a credit card that I used to put like my gas and my groceries on that he would pay off so that I would build a credit line. Okay. So like that's something that my dad did to set me up so that when I graduated college, I would have an available line for credit so that I could enter into adulthood with some opportunity. Right. So already I had more access than other people have. Not everybody has a father who's like, let me open a credit card and pay this for you. Like I realized what kind of privilege I had. And again, like we were poor. And then like over time, my dad and mom got back together. My dad started making more money. Really, my dad was the one with the money. And my mom really never, after she was laid off in 2008, she never went back to work. So anyhow, yes, we did work ourselves out of that economic status, but that was more my dad. So again, like not everybody has the opportunity, or like I even have friends whose like parents, you know, purchase property for them, or like anybody that I know who is of my age who has bought, or like a little younger than me, who has bought a house, like their parents have either like helped them with their down payment or like paid off their credit card. I mean, paid off their student loans so they don't have debt. Like anybody that I know who has gotten that ahead in life already at like in their 20s or early 30s, their parents have helped them. So that's already. So like not everybody has that. And I know that. And so when I was 24, though, because I had this great access to credit, I had racked up a ton of credit card debt because I moved off to New York City. And for a while when I was living in New York City, I used my credit cards to pay my bills because I didn't, even though I had this great credit score available to me and these, you know, credit available, I used it like Monopoly money. I was like, oh, okay. And then I spent more than I could ever pay back. And it just made more sense at the time for me to file bankruptcy because it would be off of my record by my mid 30s. It's already off my record. I'm 37. It fell off my record, like a year or so ago. But I had to buy my credit back, like work my way back up. But it just made more sense for me to file bankruptcy, have that on my credit, build my way back up. And by the time I was in my mid 30s, when I was like, well, that's about the time I would want to be making some, you know, adult decisions and things like that, then I will have it off of my record. So because again, I was not about to ask my dad to and my dad couldn't like bail me out of all the credit card debt. And so I filed bankruptcy at 24. And, you know, I'm very lucky that I've had my parents to fall back on in some certain situations. Now, something that I learned from that is, the importance of understanding how credit works, the importance of understanding how spending and budgeting and all those things. Like, it taught me a lesson for sure, but not everybody has the opportunity to bounce back from that. And so sometimes, people get themselves into these really terrible financial predicaments because, maybe they're using credit cards for how I was as a means to like pay bills. Maybe it's a mom who's, trying to just survive, and then you get yourself into this. So like, again, I just wanted to share that because it's like, I feel so lucky to have the backup, right? Because if I didn't have the backup that I did, even though I took responsibility and filed for bankruptcy, I still had a family that I could fall onto and be like, Dad, can you help me pay my car payment so that they don't repossess my car? Like, it was like I had that. And it's like, if I didn't have that, and there's so many people in the world who don't have that to fall back on, that like, what are their options? Truly. What are their options other than to lean into these programs that are supposed to be there to help us in times of need? They're funded by us for us. And like, they are supposed to be for us. Like, again, I hope that in sharing some of my personal struggles, it can put a face to, and like a background to understand that not everything, like there's a lot more than is going up behind the scenes in people's lives. And 1 in 6 children is fed through SNAP and food stamps. And if you have a heart at all, and you have the means at all to help anybody who is struggling and who is in need and who is about to be without access to feed their families, to eat, effective November 1st, feedingamerica.org is a really great resource. You can go on there. You can find your local food bank, your local food pantry to donate to. You can donate monetarily on the website, on their sub-websites. You can start food drives. You can go donate food. They give a list of things that they're going to be in critical need. Go work in food pantries. This goes so far beyond politics. This is a humanity issue, and it just breaks my heart that in recent months, we've had people defending why, someone should be assassinated or why people should go without food and starve because of their political affiliation. And I think that it's disgusting. And I hope that the people who still have empathy for humanity, that, I don't know, love can be stronger than all the hate that's out there. That's the only thing that I can hold on to because otherwise it's all too heavy. Anyway, moving on to another experience that I had, and I want to share. This is going to be an overshare for sure. But I had a dream the other night that just like really got into my head, and just like, there is not a clearer sign to me that I need to get back into some talk therapy because I very clearly still struggle with this, both consciously and subconsciously. And I just need someone to talk to. So I'm going to share with you. So I had a dream the other night that was just, it felt like it lasted all night, and it was so vivid and so just upsetting that like the whole next day, I mean, I woke up, my eyes were like so red and bloodshot. I had felt like I had been crying all night, and it just like ruined my whole day and just like really put me in a funk about just a lot of stuff. And so, so my dream. So I had a dream the other night that I was dating somebody, and the way that the dream started was that they were fingering me in the ass. And I shit on their finger, like more than just like a little bit. Like, it caused me to have like diarrhea. So one, there's like, I guess like a subconscious fear, no butt stuff, okay, especially not now with my UC and Crohn's diagnosis. So that's, I guess, subconscious fear one, pooping during butt stuff. But yeah, the person I was dating was fingering me in my dream, caused me to have like diarrhea when they were fingering me. And this person that I was dating, like, we were in love apparently in the dream, okay? Like, said I love you, blah, blah, blah. But for whatever reason, I also kind of never felt secure in it. So when this particular instance happened, when they fingered me and I shit everywhere, had like explosive diarrhea, afterwards, they just like acted different, right? Like, it made them pull away, and I just like, it immediately started this like me chasing after their affirmation, their approval, their choosing, all of that. And it just like, it was like the whole night of me just feeling like questioning if they cared, and then it being like, okay, well, now they don't love me because of this. And it just like, man, it just really triggered me into being like, this is something that I really do struggle with. I struggle with feeling like I can fully open up, that, you know, I can truly be 100% myself, that I can really have a partner and like be a partner and have that type of open communication that's necessary to build a partnership. Because there's a difference between having a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a fiance, and a husband, and having a partner. You can have the title all day long, but are they your partner? Because they don't go hand in hand all the time. And I crave partnership. Like, I would say that that's what I'm not looking for like just someone to be with, but again, I'm also like not looking for it, right? But again, it just triggered me to be like, wow, like I still have so much work to do here in feeling secure. Because, you know, as I've gotten older, I've definitely gotten a lot more confident, and I would label myself as a confident woman. I definitely feel secure in who I am, what I want, like all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to romance and emotions and things like that with people I'm emotionally and romantically interested in, holy shit balls, it's a shitstorm in there, and it goes fucking nuts. And I really struggle to be open and communicate when things bother me, when I'm feeling certain types of ways. And even like the other day, I was listening to something on Instagram from Jillian Turecki. She's somebody that I really think is has some really valid points when it comes to relationships and dating and partnership and things like that. But she was just talking about how the mark of a good relationship and of a strong, secure relationship is the ability to feel comfortable to argue. And that is something that I've never felt comfortable doing in a relationship. I have never, ever, 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 ever felt comfortable enough to argue, to potentially argue, right? Like, I'm not trying to just argue to argue, but like to speak up about something that I foresee could quote unquote rock the boat and create an argument, and to feel safe enough that like, well, we're going to argue about this probably, but like, I don't fear that we're not going to make it to the other side. And it just like really stirred up a lot of, and that's exactly what this dream was about. It was about like feeling unsafe to. Okay, well, apparently fuck me today, because my camera that I was just recording on completely fucking died. I've tried to record this episode multiple times today, and, you know, it's just not been the day. So I'm going to take that as a sign to wrap it the fuck up. Okay, maybe this will just be a short and sweet one today for you guys, because it's Halloween. Happy Halloween. I'm going dressed up as Anne Hathaway from the cover of Princess Diaries. I'm like, I wanted to be something 90s iconic. But yeah, that's the episode for today, y'all. Sorry that it got cut off a little bit short. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help spread the word. Share the episode. Leave a comment. Tell me what you thought. Follow me on social media. Find me on social media. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Sharra Coley. That's spelled SHARRACOLEY. Thanks again. I hope you all have a safe and happy Halloween, and I will see you cats and kittens next time, you fucking bitches. Okay, bye now. See you later. Bye-bye. God, I'm fucking weird. All right, bye.